Hey guys, I'm Michelle from Virtual Hand Care, and in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 sensory exercises to help reduce any finger sensitivity or finger pain that you might be experiencing with a broken wrist. So when I talk about doing sensory exercises, this is different than those physical exercises that you also want to be doing to your fingers when you're healing from a broken wrist or wrist surgery. Now, if you're looking for more active range of motion or physical exercises, I do have a video here that you'll want to check out where I show you active range of motion exercises that you want to do to your fingers, to your elbow, to any joint that's not immobilized. Physical exercises are so important to help reduce your pain, reduce your stiffness and your swelling. However, it's really important to also address the sensory side of things because more than likely you're not exposing those fingertips to normal textures on a daily basis. You're not using your hand, you're not picking up objects like you normally would, and so therefore you're not getting various textures to those fingers and actually can lead to some hypersensitivity of those fingers. Now, it's really important to make sure that if you are experiencing a significant amount of pain and a significant amount of numbness and tingling and hypersensitivity to those fingers, you definitely want to let your doctor know because it could be from a really tight cast. Don't be afraid to call them and let them know what you are experiencing in your fingers because they may want you to come in so that you can get a new cast put on. So when it comes to sensory exercises, what that means is we want to expose different textures to our fingertips in a more controlled way so that when you do go to reach for something spontaneously, you're not noticing that hypersensitivity because you've already exposed yourself to different types of textures. So sensory exercise number 1, you want to grab yourself some cotton balls. Now, I love to start with cotton balls because they're soft, right? And when you have sensitive fingers, the last thing you want to do is touch something really, hard or rough. Your fingers are already sensitive. So what you want to do is start with something that is a little bit softer and see how you feel. And you can obviously progress to different types of textures from there. So what I like to do is take the cotton balls and put them out on a table. Take one cotton ball and just use your good hand to just gently rub that cotton ball over your fingertips. How do your fingers feel when they feel the cotton balls? Does it feel more numb to where maybe you're not feeling that texture as much and so you are experiencing a little more hyposensitivity, which means the sensitivity is a little bit less? Or are you feeling more hypersensitivity, which when you take the cotton ball and rub over your fingers, it doesn't feel as soft. It feels a little bit annoying, or maybe that texture just doesn't feel quite the same as it does on your other hand. You might be experiencing a little more hypersensitivity, but even if you're experiencing hypo or hypersensitivity, you definitely still want to make sure that you are exposing your finger to various textures. A way to then grade that activity is to use your hand then to actually rub over those cotton balls and just lightly move all the fingers over the cotton balls. You want to make sure that you're also letting that ring finger and small finger feel the texture of those cotton balls. I often find that most people kind of forget about the ring and small finger when they're in the cast, and then those poor fingers are so sensitive by the time the cast comes off. And so then what you can do is then incorporate a little active movement with this then. So then you can work on picking up some of those cotton balls, and as you can see, it takes some finger flexion to hold some of those cotton balls, right? Your thumb might be able to help with this. It depends on how high your cast goes up. And then what you can do is work on opening those fingers to drop the cotton balls. So that's a great way to then work on that extension motion as well. So grabbing some of those cotton balls and opening. And you could do that a couple of times. Another way to grade this exercise is to then pick up a cotton ball and just work on kind of feeling the textures just with your index and your middle finger, because those fingers are typically what is used when you pick up small objects. And then you could work on dropping that into the bowl. And again, grabbing that cotton ball. Get that sensory feedback that you're sending to your brain and dropping that in the bowl. And you can do that activity a couple times. You could also even do that activity with your eyes closed and see if you even can touch that cotton ball. Do you know where that cotton ball is on the table? That's a great proprioceptive activity as well. You want to be able, your brain is going to tell the hand where that cotton ball is at, and you want to be able to feel that cotton ball and be able to pick that up and put that in the bowl as well. So I usually recommend is to set yourself a timer for, 2 to 3 minutes with that kind of activity, but you might want to do that once or twice a day. Sensory exercise number 2, you're going to want to grab yourself a towel or a scarf. I have a scarf with me here just because that's going to be a little bit softer, so that's a good way to start. Now, if a scarf is no big deal for you, then go ahead and grab yourself a towel. You can grab a towel that's maybe been washed a couple hundred times, and that's going to be a lot more rough on your fingers, but use what feels comfortable for you. So what I like to do is curl your fingers around that scarf or that towel, and you want to lightly pull the scarf through your fingers and just feel the texture of that scarf, of that material that you're pulling through your fingers. Making sure all the fingers are working, all the fingers are touching that material. Again, even the ring and the small finger too, we don't want to neglect those. And also go through the finger web spaces too. That's also something I notice that many people can be sensitive in between the web spaces of the fingers, because when we're swollen or when our fingers are in a cast, our fingers are kind of smashed together and we don't get those open. So we want to try to open those fingers up as much as you can. Pull that material through the finger web spaces. And oftentimes that feels good. Maybe it is a little sensitive for you if you haven't been exposed to any kind of textures in between those web spaces. But this is also a great way to help with any swelling that you might have that's kind of settled in between those web spaces. So actually taking that scarf or taking some light material and kind of just lightly pulling it through the web space can help reduce some of that swelling. And then a way to grade that exercise, again, is just to work on lightly picking up that scarf or that towel. Maybe work on folding that scarf or that towel just to get a little bit of sensory stimulation, but also some of that motor function to your hand. Okay, sensory exercise number 3, you're gonna wanna grab yourself something that has a little bit more texture to it, like a ball. I actually have a little spiky ball. If you have a ball that's not as spiky, you can also do this activity as well. But I like to use something that has some texture to it, especially if you've been working on softer materials. This is a great way to grade and kind of get your fingers exposed to different types of textures. So what you want to do first, again, is just use your other hand to just lightly move that ball over your fingers. Maybe over the thumb, just nice and lightly. You can also even do this up into the arm too, if you feel like you're a little bit sensitive, even up into the elbow, up into the upper arm too. This is a great way to work on sensory stimulation to the whole entire arm. And then you can place the ball on the table and then just work on rolling the ball with your fingers. And you could do that a couple different ways. You can just roll without really curling the fingers, or if you've got a little more finger mobility, you can work on slowly moving that ball with your fingers. That's a great way to get some active motion going into the arm and into the fingers. Finally, another way to grade that activity would then just be to pick up that ball, and you could maybe place it in your other hand and kind of do a little bit of back and forth of a little modified ball toss here, back and forth. And that's a great bilateral activity. Now you're getting used to using that arm with your other arm too. They're working together. Oftentimes when we have an injury, we do everything just with the one side. So we definitely want to encourage some bilateral movement as well as just movement with just that arm. And again, you can set yourself a timer for a couple of minutes and do this a couple of times a day. Now, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and that subscribe button below. And if you're looking for more exercises on your fingers or your wrist, maybe your cast is off and now you're ready to get that wrist moving, then check out these videos here that YouTube is suggesting for you. Thanks for watching.